In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. I have to admit that for a long time, I've thought this parable of the weeds might secretly be a bit much. A farmer plants good wheat on good soil, and then at night an enemy sneaks into the field to plant weeds that will grow alongside the good crop. What can we say about this enemy? Who thinks of a plot like this? It's not really that good as plots go, is it? The farmer will still get his crop. He will just have to sort out the weeds from the wheat when the harvest comes. Yes, that's a lot of extra work from the farmer, but the whole thing seems kind of far-fetched and impractical, don't you think? And yet Jesus suggests that it's something that could happen, that the farmer would know right away how to understand the presence of weeds among his crops. An enemy has done this, he says. And it feels like there's some kind of dark farming underworld, some agricultural deep state in which such things happen all the time. It's a world in which you don't think about how weeds are naturally present or the result of some error on your own part. You just know an enemy has sown them. It's puzzling. It's grim. But here we are in July of 2020, and grim things do have our attention. Suddenly worship and singing in schools and restaurants are all sources of serious infection. The virus is bad enough, but there are shadowy forces online or somewhere propagating misinformation that has a direct impact on our well-being. There are shadowy manipulations of statistics by interested parties. Distinguished doctors and scientists are trotted out as authoritative experts and then contradicted and excoriated by the very administration they serve. Yes, the virus is naturally present, but at the same time, I'm starting to understand the perspective of the farmer who knows that someone might sow weeds among his crops. In Portland, protesters are picked up by military-style figures in unmarked vans who turn out to work for our government. One could be forgiven for wondering whether the purpose of federal intervention in Portland might not be to cause chaos rather than to calm the waters. One could be forgiven for imagining that this action in Portland is meant to send a warning shot to protesters all over the country, like the weeds sown in the dark of night in a perfectly good field of crops. This action may not accomplish much directly, but it does create a chilling effect. It does seem designed to make one wonder about enemies in the dark of night. Its very arbitrariness is what makes it so troubling. It's not just that there are weeds, it's that human beings would deliberately and somewhat pointlessly sow them. There have always been weeds growing inside us, weeds around us, so much entanglement around the roots of our lives that it's desperately hard sometimes to know what's wheat and what isn't. It doesn't take a conspiracy theory to tell us that sin abounds in this world, but lately, it's just too alarmingly easy to hear the evening news and think, an enemy has done this. I wonder whether that's what Jesus wants for us. Is that why he tells us this troubling story, to wrap up cold fear around our hearts, to give us a sense of foreboding, to confirm our worst suspicions, to make us turn against our neighbors and contemplate them as weeds, as enemies? I don't think so. Or at least I don't believe that's where Jesus wants us to stay as we ponder this story. In fact, I've probably already spent too much time on the weeds. Because this is a story about wheat. It's a story about how wheat yields a harvest, when for reasons that no one can really explain, the roots are entangled, and there is choking pressure all around. And the answer to that question, how do we produce a harvest when we are choked with weeds? The answer is grow. Nowhere does Jesus suggest that we will be adept at measuring the forces against us, or for that matter, the forces within us that stunt our development. Nowhere does Jesus offer us an explanation for the actions of the mysterious enemy farmer. There's no test that can come back positive or negative to let us know whether we are weeds or wheat. Above all, Jesus explicitly forbids us to begin separating ourselves out from the corrupted field. We can't, in this sense, quarantine ourselves, not even from ourselves. That work is not for us to do. Stay away from the virus, yes, but don't stay away from the world. Our work is to dig our roots down obstinately, right in the middle of the enemy-infested field, and reach up toward the sun and grow. And it's here that I begin to love this parable and the whole set of parables Jesus tells in the 13th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. They are puzzling stories. Last week we heard about the farmer who scattered seeds in unlikely places. Next week we'll hear about a mustard seed and yeast and a pearl of great price. They are improbable stories about hidden forms of leavening and hidden sources of wealth, tiny invisible seeds that become great trees. It looks just like our everyday world of buying and selling, planting and harvesting, but when you look closely, it's almost an enchanted universe. Someone buries a treasure in a field and leaves it for you to find, and you are clever enough to buy that field. The everyday world, it turns out, is strange and wonderful, as well as perilous. Jesus offers no elaborate explanation for suffering and pain and evil, but in his stories, he does everything he can to engage us in the world where our roots are. He does everything he can to make sure we are enchanted, drawn in, fascinated, even while we are afraid and in pain. He even resorts to the old trick of making us think we are hearing a big secret. In some verses that we aren't given in the lectionary this morning, after telling the story of the good soil and the bad soil, Jesus deploys what I can only think of as a loud stage whisper to make extra sure that disciples know that what they are hearing is really good stuff, really special knowledge. I use parables, he says, because the knowledge of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you. Many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. If the others heard it, he says, quoting the prophet Isaiah, they might open their hearts and turn toward me, and I might heal them. Well, who isn't going to listen to that? Who doesn't want to be in on that secret? Here is what I can glean this morning about the big secret. Yes, the world, even our ordinary part of it, even a virus, is strange and troubling, almost beyond belief. Yes, we are in over our heads in this world, and it hurts. But Jesus the farmer knows something we don't about the worth of the harvest. And he's entirely given over to fostering our growth, weeds and all, for as long as it takes us to come to fruition. He doesn't get rid of the weeds because we are part of the weeds, and we are literally worth everything to him. He gets down with us in the weeds. He dies like a weed, rejected like a notorious criminal, thrown aside like the chaff. We do not know our own worth, but Jesus does. Our worth is in Jesus' eyes. Jesus sees weeds. He also sees John Lewis and C.T. Vivian. He sees you and me growing. He sees himself in us and his Father and the Holy Spirit. And he does everything he can to persuade us to keep at it. Stay with the crops in the field. The harvest belongs to Jesus. You and I belong to Jesus. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.